Hello and welcome to India Business Hour. I'm Ashmit Kumar and here are the headlines that we're tracking this evening. India to collaborate with Russia as it aims to plug gaps in its fighter jet fleet. Sources say government is actively considering Russia's Su-57 fighters. No proposal to acquire American F-35s for now. That's an exclusive. US and China agree on a framework to get the trade truce back on track after 2 days of negotiations in London. US President Trump says deal is done with China, subject to approvals. Also claims that China will supply necessary rare earth magnets up front. India and US make progress towards a trade deal after a week of negotiations in Delhi. Indian government say that the talks were productive and remain confident of an interim deal before the July 9th deadline. As China eases the rare earth magnet curbs for American and European auto companies, no word yet on supplies to India. Sources say Indian government is exploring ways to incentivize mining of rare earth magnets. Copper imports under government scanner. Sources say Customs Department is probing alleged duty evasion under the ASEAN Free Trade Agreement. Industry writes to the finance minister saying that the customs action is arbitrary. Market regulator SEBI to issue validated UPI handles for brokers from 1st of October to ensure that investors do not fall prey to cyber frauds. SEBI chairperson says that a check tool will allow investors to check if the UPI account belongs to a verified broker. A Singapore-flagged cargo ship carrying hazardous chemicals and flammable materials is still on fire for the third day near Kerala coast. A Coast Guard statement says 40% of the fire has been extinguished. China thanks India for rescuing the crew members, which included 14 people from China and 6 from Taiwan. Israeli forces kill at least 57 people at a food distribution center in Gaza. 120 people have been killed in the last 24 hours, taking the overall death toll so far to more than 55,000 people. UK, Australia, Canada and others have placed sanctions on 2 Israeli government ministers. Elon Musk regrets some social media posts he made about the US President Donald Trump during an explosive public dispatch. Musk says some of his posts went too far. President Trump hints at a truce, saying that he has no hard feelings. U.S. cities brace for more protest over President Trump's crackdown on immigrants. Parts of Los Angeles placed under curfew. Thousands marched through downtown Chicago. The launch of HCM-4 mission carrying India's Subhanshu Shukla and 3 others to the International Space Station delayed once again. SpaceX cites a technical snag. No new launch date announced as of yet. Well, let's begin with a look at the day's trading action. The benchmarks outperformed the broader markets, with Nifty holding on to levels above the 25,100 mark and gaining for the 6th straight session. IT stocks lent support while financials dragged the market down. Oil and gas stocks also witnessed all-round gains, with the index rising over 1%. Meanwhile, Wall Street opened with gains after U.S. consumer price increases 0.1% in May, putting the annual inflation rate at 2.4%. Meanwhile, back home, in a bid to crack down on cyber frauds, market regulator SEBI has launched a new validated UPI handles for secured payments to investors. Addressing a press conference in Mumbai, SEBI chairperson Tuhin Kanta Pandey said that there were concerns over people falling prey to cyber frauds. Pandey went on to say that the check tool, which would be available from October 1st, will allow investors to check if the UPI account is belonging to a verified broker.
The issue that we are going to have on a much wider systemic scale, which is the payment system itself, where we are bringing in a new UPI within the UPI system, and you have seen how it will help in knowing for you to know, and you can check up on any bank account whether it is a bank account of a registered inventory, either broker or mutual fund. You should be able to check it. So this would be very handy, and going forward, as we will see, It will be implemented from 1st of October.
Well, on to a CNBC TV 18 exclusive. The Indian government may collaborate with Russia with an aim to plug gaps in its fighter jet fleet. Sources have told us that the government is actively considering Russia's Su-57 fighters. However, no proposal has been made so far to acquire American F-35s. Parikshit Luthra joining us now with more details. Parikshit, take us through the government plan.
The Indian government is deploying a three-pronged strategy to meet gaps in its fighter jet program. This after Air Chief AP Singh recently said that India needs at least 35 to 40 fighters per year. The Defence Ministry had announced a new execution model for the fifth-generation fighter program 2 weeks ago, and this was to encourage participation of foreign and domestic private companies and provide them a level playing field with Indian PSUs like HAL. Sources tell us that the government is set to issue a request for proposal for the AMCA program next week, and this will be followed by the first pre-bid meeting with the industry in 15 days. The government may then invite bids in 45 days, so they're moving on this quite fast. As the development of an advanced medium combat aircraft or a fifth-generation fighter has a long development period, the government is also looking at ways to meet immediate needs of the Air Force for a fifth-generation fighter. Now, the Russian government has submitted a proposal to the Indian Air Force to supply and make Su-57 fighter jets. The government is now considering this proposal actively to see if Su-57 fighters can be acquired in a flyaway condition from Russia in the short term and also made in India. The reason why this is under consideration is because HAL or Hindustan Aeronautics Limited already has a Su-30 production line in Nasik, and we have a long-standing collaboration on fighter jets with Russia. Thirdly, the government is looking at ways to develop and manufacture fifth-generation fighter jet engines in India. Proposals have been received from Safran and Rolls-Royce, and these are the only two companies willing to provide 100% technology transfer and intellectual property. No plans as of now to acquire F-35s from the United States, and there is no proposal in front of the ministry either. When it comes to boosting air defense, this is a priority area, and the government is thinking about ordering perhaps 1 or 2 more units beyond the existing order from Russia for the S-400. Now, Russia has already delivered 3 squadrons of the S-400, and 2 more will be delivered by 2026. When it comes to quick reaction surface-to-air missiles systems for the Army, the Defence Acquisition Council could soon take up a proposal for this acquisition, and the total cost of this would be around 30,000 crore rupees.
Right, Parikshit, thanks so much for that. Now, the big story this evening, US and Chinese officials have agreed on a framework to restore their trade truce after 2 days of intense negotiations in London. US President Donald Trump has said that the US's deal with China is done. In a post on Truth Social, Trump said that the US will impose tariffs of 55% on Chinese goods. Meanwhile, Beijing will levy duties of 10% on American goods. The US president said that China will supply magnets and any necessary rare earths up front. He also added that the US will in turn make certain concessions, such as allowing Chinese students to attend US colleges and universities. CNBC's Megan Casella gets us more on this big breakthrough.
Those talks wrapped just before midnight in London, with officials from both sides saying they had agreed to a framework for moving forward. Each delegation is now briefing their respective presidents on the details, and pending approvals, then we will start to see implementation. And I should add here, guys, that just in the last few moments, President Trump actually posted on Truth Social about this deal. He is saying that the deal with China is done, subject to those final approvals. Full magnets, he says, and any necessary rare earths will be supplied up front by China. Likewise, we will provide to China what was agreed to, including Chinese students using our colleges and universities, which he says has always been good with him. He goes on to say, we are getting a total of 55% tariffs. China is getting 10%. The relationship is excellent. So clearly, President Trump has been briefed now on these talks, and he's confirming what we had been talking about for the past 2 days, that the focus really stayed on China's rare earths, which should now start to flow to the U.S. and on the U.S.'s export restrictions, which should ease up in return. Here's Howard Lutnick talking about the same topic last night to reporters.
We do absolutely expect that the topic of rare earth minerals and magnets with respect to the United States of America will be resolved in this framework implementation. That is a fundamental part of that. Also, there were a number of measures the United States of America put on when those rare earths were not coming. You should expect those to come off sort of, as President Trump said, in a balanced way. When they approve the licenses, then you should expect that our export implementation will come down as well.
So I'd put it this way, guys, taking everything we just heard, both from the president and from the Commerce Secretary, this is definitely a step in the right direction, but it is a somewhat small one. It roughly puts things back to where they were after Geneva, when the U.S. thought that the rare earths issue was settled. But given that there was no timeline then for China to abide by, the U.S. then felt China was slow-walking the deal. Now we are back on track, clearly. Trump saying the relationship is excellent, but we have to wait to see whether there might be a timeline attached this time, and then whether and how quickly the two sides follow through.
Well, India and the United States are making progress as well towards a deal after a week of negotiations in Delhi. The U.S. delegation was led by Assistant U.S. Trade Representative Brendan Lynch. Indian government sources have told us that the talks were productive and remain confident of an interim deal before July 9th, the deadline. Sources also said that the negotiations helped in making progress towards a mutually beneficial and balanced agreement. Both sides negotiated on market access, technical barriers to trade, customs and trade facilitations, as well as legal frameworks. Speaking to CNBC TV 18, former Foreign Secretary Kamal Sibal has said that the 9th of July deadline set by the U.S. officials seems more like coercion than a negotiation. Similarly, former ambassador to WTO, Anjali Prasad, cautioned that rushed interim trade deals have hurt India in the past.
This 9th July deadline that has been imposed means that actually we are being coerced into reaching some kind of an agreement. This is the form of an ultimatum, frankly, if you look at it that way, that, that by 9 July, if you can't, then those 26% or 27% tariffs across the board will be applicable to India.
It completely damaged our fledgling electronic industry, which was coming up. It was an infant industry. It damaged that. It damaged a number of other sectors. And we had to give up that India-Thailand early harvest because of the damage it caused to our manufacturing sector. And this kind of hurry that we are being pushed into in very, very critical sectors, like Ambassador Sibal also said, I think is not in our interest.
China's stranglehold on rare earth magnets has left the Indian auto industry in a bind. Sources tell us that the government is exploring ways in which it can leverage its public sector units for production, even as diplomatic efforts to resolve this crisis continue. And on to a CNBC TV 18 exclusive. The Customs Department has issued notices to nearly 2,000 copper importers for allegedly evading duty under the India-ASEAN FTA. It is now seeking a 35% retrospective duty as per value addition rules. Industry has dismissed these claims and has appealed to the Finance Minister for immediate action. Timsy now joins us with more details. Timsy, tell us, what is the potential impact of this move?
Well, that's right. Sources have told CNBC TV 18 that the Customs Department is probing duty evasion done by copper importers under the ASEAN-India Free Trade Agreement. The Customs Department has issued notices to as many as 2,000 copper importers for paying low duty for several years, and the Customs Department allege that wrong classification done by importers is to avail zero duty benefit. Given this, the Customs Department is now seeking 35% duty as per value addition rules and is even demanding bank guarantees from these importers. Sources say that the Customs Department has used third-party data from producers in Vietnam to back their claims. Meanwhile, industry is pushing back on these claims. The industry via Bombay Metal Exchange has approached the Finance Ministry seeking immediate action. Industry claims that imports are essential, especially for the air conditioner and refrigerator makers who are being impacted with this move. Further, Industry claims that Customs Department action is arbitrary and they have protested against the retrospective tax demand. Not just this, they have also questioned unverified third-party data being used as the basis of this particular action. Noting this, CNBC TV18 has sent email queries to the Finance Ministry seeking a response, which remained unanswered. And when CNBC TV18 spoke to Bombay Metal Exchange, President Sandeep Jain, he said this abrupt enforcement contradicts the very spirit of free trade agreement, and thousands of MSMEs are now facing financial hardships due to these claims. To be seen now is whether the government will step into finding a solution or whether this, like several other tax disputes too, lands up in a legal battle, something that we'll have to wait and watch for. We'll keep you posted on this.
Right, Timsy, thanks so much for that. Now, the centre is looking to slash the average turnaround time for setting up a nuclear power plant. As per a money control report, the government is planning to reduce the time from 13 years to 8 years. The average time taken to build a nuclear power plant globally is between 6 to 8 years. The centre also plans to increase its nuclear production capacity to 100 gigawatts by 2047. As of now, only an additional capacity of 15 gigawatts has been approved. And the Union Cabinet has approved 2 railway infrastructure projects worth more than 6,400 crore rupees. The projects are aimed at enhancing connectivity and freight movement across Jharkhand, Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh. The projects will expand railway networks by 318 kilometers. The project in Jharkhand runs through the coal belt and offers connectivity to Ranchi and Patna. The project in Karnataka connects Bellary and Chitradurga districts and stretches into Anantapur district of Andhra Pradesh. 7 railway officials have been suspended for sending an unhygienic and dilapidated train for troop movement from the northeast to Jammu and Kashmir. The Border Security Force had lodged a protest with the railways over the condition of the train sent to transport troops from Tripura to Jammu to provide security for Amarnath Yatra. Videos showing the condition of the train went viral on social media. Acknowledging the incident, Railway Minister Ashwini Vaishnav said that action has been taken and 7 officials have been suspended.
सर आपने अभी 2 लाइन के डबलिंग का अनाउंसमेंट किया, रेलवे में लगातार जो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बढ़ा रहे हैं उसको अनाउंसमेंट किया, लेकिन आज सुबह से एक सोशल मीडिया पे वीडियो वायरल हो रहा है।
उसका ऑलरेडी एक्शन कल ही लिया जा चुका था। वो ट्रेन की रेक कल ही रिप्लेस कर दी गई थी और जो 4 अधिकारी इसके लिए जिम्मेदार थे उनको सस्पेंड भी कर दिया गया।
Now, the National Securities Depository is pressing ahead with its plan to raise about 3,400 crore rupees through an initial public offering. According to a Bloomberg report, the IPO is now slated to take place by next month. The IPO will offer for sale by existing shareholders, including IDBI Bank, NSE and SBI. SoftBank-backed Meesho has plans to confidentially file for an initial public offering in the coming weeks. A Bloomberg report has suggested that the company could seek to raise $700 to $800 million. The Financial Services Institutions Bureau has recommended D.R. Doraiswamy for the position of CEO and MD of state-owned insurer LIC. The Bureau interfaced with the 4 candidates from LIC for the top position. According to an official notification, the FSIB said that the choice was made because of Doraiswamy's performance and experience in the insurer. Doraiswamy, who has been serving as LIC's MD since 2023. And market regulator SEBI and stock exchange BSE have granted approval to Jio BlackRock Investment Advisors to begin operations in India. Jio BlackRock Investment Advisors is a 50-50 joint venture between Jio Financial Services and BlackRock. The company has said that it will focus on building a digital-first product to benefit consumers. And coming up on India Business Hour, Elon Musk regrets some social media posts he made about US President Donald Trump. President Trump also hints at a truce, saying that he has no hard feelings. More details in just a bit. And you can also catch all CNBC TV 18's news and updates on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, X, and Jio Hotstar. Now, the government has encouraged financial entities to use Central Registry of Securitization Asset Reconstruction for KYC. Sapna Das joins us now with more details. Sapna.
Well, what we're given to understand from sources is the government is very keen for the regulated entities to basically increasingly use the central KYC unique ID as far as the Know Your Customer process is concerned. Now, we are given to understand that the central registry carries KYC data of over 103 crore individuals. However, what is being observed is that probably the regulated entities across the board are not really leveraging this data to the fullest. For instance, the government has also already changed the PMLA rules last year itself, which basically allows the interusability of the KYC data. So basically, the point here is that once the central KYC unique ID is available and has been downloaded by the regulated entities. So in terms of onboarding the existing customers, a repetition of those KYC documents is not required. I think this is a big ask and a big push that the government along with the other financial regulators has been trying to do. And over a period of time, some success is also visible. So for instance, the government is very keen that the number of uploads, downloads and updates in the central registry as far as the KYC data is concerned, that really picks up. Hence, we are given to understand that as of May 31, around 150 crore downloads of KYC data have actually occurred, and the daily average now stands at 15 lakhs. This is a big number, big jump since 2019. But we'll have to keep a watch on this space as to how this really goes forward.
Right, Sapna, thanks so much for that. In international news now, Israeli forces have killed at least 120 Palestinians and injured more than 400 people across Gaza in just the last 24 hours. This includes at least 57 aid seekers at a food distribution site in southern Gaza. Britain, Australia, Canada, New Zealand and Norway have imposed sanctions on 2 far-right Israeli government ministers for inciting extremist violence against Palestinians in the West Bank. Russia and Ukraine have exchanged over 1,000 captured soldiers. This is the second stage of the agreement struck at peace talks last week. This comes as Russia attacked Ukraine's capital of Kyiv with waves of drones and missiles, killing 1 person. Ukrainian President Zelensky called the attack one of the biggest strikes on the country's capital in the 3-year-old war. Los Angeles Police Department carried out mass arrests following the imposition of an overnight curfew by Mayor Karen Bass amidst the ongoing unrest. LAPD reported nearly 200 arrests on Tuesday alone, adding to the over 180 detentions over the past few days. The protests sparked by immigration raids have spread to other cities as well, including New York, Chicago and Washington, D.C. After a week of nearly heated online sparring, billionaire Elon Musk has now softened his tone against US President Donald Trump. In a post on X, Musk acknowledged that some of his recent remarks against Trump went too far. Musk has even deleted some of his posts attacking the US president. Remember, the tiff began after Musk criticized Trump's tax bill as a disgusting abomination. And President Trump is signaling a potential truce with Elon Musk. Speaking on a podcast after Musk expressed regret, Trump said that he has no hard feelings and was really surprised at Musk's tweet. Trump went on to say that he was disappointed, but he does not blame Musk for anything. When asked if the duo could reconcile, Trump said they could. The Indian Coast Guard continues to battle the blaze on the Singapore-flagged ship for the 3rd day. The Coast Guard statement in the morning said that around 40% of the fire on the ship off the Kerala coast has been brought under control. The ship is still afloat but continues to release heavy smoke. Firefighting experts from Spain, UK and Netherlands are expected to join the operation within the next 72 hours, subject to visa clearance. Digi Yatra has crossed 14 million users and has facilitated over 58 million journeys. The biometric-based passenger entry system has 30,000 new users signing up daily and adoption as high as 60% at some airports. The CEO of Digi Yatra told my colleague Madhya Mujawar that multiple Indian languages will soon be added to improve accessibility, and international travel is next on the radar.
Some of the airports are clocking more than 60% of their passengers using Digi Yatra. right? And on a national average, if you were to look at it, 30 to 35% of the flying population use Digiyatra. And what we are trying to do is we are trying to ensure that we remove all kinds of barriers for entry into Digiyatra ecosystem. And one of the things that we will be very shortly doing is bringing the app in multiple languages. International travel will be our next milestone as well.
So speaking of airports, how many airports today have Digiyatra gates, and which airport has the highest users of Digiyatra?
So we have got 24 airports today, another 4 in the pipeline. In a month or so, they will also get launched. And then we've got another 13 more which will be launched in the next 3 to 6 months period. So that will be almost like 40 airports.
There have been concerns on data privacy and, where is the data saved? Who saves it? Is it with the Digiyatra Foundation? Is it with the government? Is it with the airlines? How are you addressing those concerns, those privacy-related concerns?
So basically, if you look at the way self-sovereign identity works, right, there is no central storage of anybody's credentials. All the credentials are stored only in your own phone, right? And when you are traveling, you share those credentials to the departing airport. And once you cross through the process on the day of travel, within 24 hours of the scheduled time of departure of the flight, the data gets purged from the airport system also.
Can we know about any country that wants to use the Digiyatra app?
So there are many who are working on this journey, and we would be happy to actually create such an ecosystem where this would be like a replicable model for anyone else.
You are in talks with countries to use Digiyatra.
Yes, at a very high level, early primary discussions happening, but nothing concrete as yet.
Meanwhile, the Finance Ministry has rejected previous media reports that merchant discount rate or MDR charges could be levied on UPI transactions. In a post on X, the ministry has called speculation of MDR on UPI payments as completely false, baseless and misleading. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of India Business Hour. Thank you so much for watching. News and updates will continue right here on CNBC TV 18.